I just want to introduce an idea. You guys remember the video game Injustice, right? Granted, they made a movie with a different storyline as well as comics and all that sort of stuff about that. But how about this? What if about a version of the Injustice storyline where Batman actually is fully on board with Superman's decisions? Maybe he tries to steer Superman into a less tyrannical version of it, into a more balanced version of it. So, yeah, Batman will be on his side, but that being said, he'll have the support of his best friend. He won't feel so alone in things, and that he won't, go to such a fucking extreme that he does. Which means, not only would no one ever actually be able to beat Superman in that situation since Batman having his back, but also, Batman would help keep him from going too far. Then there'd also be the idea, what if Batman were to try to, take Lois Lane to Ra's al Ghul to try to revive her and the kid with the Lazarus pit. Let's say for whatever reason that just doesn't work, or Superman's against the idea. Like Batman suggested to him, Superman's like, no, don't. Or Batman does try it and it doesn't work for some reason. Or it does. Like I said, I want to hear all of you guys, I want your ideas. I want how you guys feel about this. How would you write this story? How would you... Because here's the way I see it coming about. Let's say Batman is busy doing the stuff with the Lois Lane, say Superman okay with that, and then while he's gone, Superman goes and kills the Joker. And let's say initially, regardless of what happens with Lois Lane being able to revive or not, let's say Batman's just in a state of shock that he thought, Superman wasn't going to do that. He really thought he wasn't. But let's say the rest of Justice League, especially, all the ones that were really gung-ho about it in the Injustice game, which would be let's see. I actually can't really think of very many that were super gung-ho about it. I don't know, who was really pro-Superman killing the people at the asylum, and who was really against it back then? I know Green Arrow really wasn't. But let's just say in this situation, Batman and Green Arrow are, on Superman's side, but they act more so as his conscience to, keep him from going too far. And since, they were on his side from day one with that, Superman at least listens to them, so if he ever does come idea fucking flat Metropolis or Gotham, they're like, hey, that's too far. And he's like, oh yeah, you're right, Batman. You're right, Green Arrow. Fuck. Yeah, I was being angry. I wasn't thinking clearly there. But let's say a version of the Injustice storyline where Batman, as well as the entire Bat family, all the Robins, Batgirl, Alfred, all of them are completely 100% they're all hey, we're on whatever side Batman's on, and Batman's on Superman's side. But, Superman, everyone also knows that at any point if they betray Batman, all of them are going to be on Batman's side, no matter what happens. Let's also say Zantana and Black Canary are also on Batman's side. And I don't know who would date who, but let's say either Zantana or Black Canary's with Batman, and whichever one's not with Batman is with Superman. I'm trying to ship people. I don't know. Beyond that, let's also, for bonus points, say that the Teen Titans are also fully okay with whatever decision Batman goes with. So, yeah. Teen Titans, all the Bat family, they're all completely supporting Superman all the way in Injustice, but they are trying to act like his conscience to keep him from, doing anything bad. But at the same time, let's also say Ra's al Ghul is he's assisting, but he basically lets Batman sort of be, in control. He kind of lets his ego slide. He's like, I really want the detective to sort of take over my legacy. This is a step toward that. So, no matter what, you have to let go of the reins in that situation. So, let's also act for a moment that Ra's al Ghul won't be such an extremist. Mainly, I just want Grant, I'm sure there's been versions of the comic. I remember reading this one thing by this guy that covers comics where there was a version of the story, like, it was a completely different scenario, but Batman and Superman basically took over the world, and then Wonder Woman murdered Batman, and then Superman in his rage murdered Wonder Woman. And then after that, things went really shitty because even though, yes, Batman and Superman did take over the planet, they did so, to end war and all that shit. And beyond that, for the most part, they really didn't do anything really bad. Also, Batman being alive was keeping Superman from going full genocide. Which, once Wonder Woman killed Batman, Superman cried a bunch, strangled Wonder Woman with her own rope, and then got much more gory in how he killed her. And then he went way more full-blown psycho than he was before that. Other than that, probably at some point I'll get back to trying to do the sing together stuff with the corn stuff, because I can't sing worth a shit, but I like trying to sing. Heck, if my channel says anything to anybody, is aside from that, I'm predominantly a comedy channel with a focus on Let's Plays, but, sometimes I just vent about stuff, sometimes I talk about random shit, sometimes it's just random shit like this. And sometimes I do terrible karaoke. I don't know, if anything to say to anybody is, it's important to talk about your feelings and not keep things bottled up. Whether it's music, art, or just talking about your thoughts and feelings. And yeah, you might say, well, it doesn't really solve the problem. No, but it allows you to either think of solutions, or just by venting, it at least makes you feel better, which allows you to work harder to finding solutions. And some problems in life, well, sometimes some problems in life just don't have any solutions. There is no solution. But there are ways to manage and, if anything, damage control a situation to at least mitigate everything to the best possible outcome. But yeah, it's just the main thing I want to say is this: one, obviously, if there are things you want to change in life, you do have to take active steps to try to, make your life better. But no matter what, you got to remember to be nice to yourself. You got to be understanding yourself. I mean, you do have to push yourself to try your hardest to, better yourself at things. But at the same time, you got to be reasonable with your goals. And above all, you got to understand, why are you chasing certain goals you have. And, well, you just got to be nice to yourself. Granted, you should be nice to other people too. But also, yes, I swear I do not have ADHD. I just sort of ramble into different topics. Heck, I'll post it after this video in a lot of the playlists. I did a movie review of the movie Bullet Train with Brad Pitt, and I call it a Daniel Stern Bullet Train. And I talked about it was half hour of me talking about 200 plus subjects. I do not have ADHD. I just sometimes get easily distracted or hyper focus on certain things, or try to think about multiple things at a time, where I go off on different tangents where I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, and then I forget what I was talking about, and then I keep jumping from topic to topic, and I can't seem to keep track of what I was talking about. So that's more so a personality quirk than anything else. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm perfectly fine about, just a couple personality quirks. But what the fuck was I talking about? Oh, right, Russell Crowe. You guys remember Russell Crowe? He was in the movie Gladiator. He was the General Maximoff or something like that. No, that's a video game character. Anyway, Russell Crowe played in the Gladiator movies. Remember, Joaquin Phoenix was the Emperor in that movie? And, speaking of Joaquin Phoenix, well, we'll get to that in a moment. Russell Crowe. He was in the Gladiator movie, which I think Russell Crowe's a really awesome actor. But about 5 years before the Gladiator movie, he did another movie called Virtuosity, where I think it was him and Denzel Washington, if I remember right. I can't remember. Anyway, he played a character called Sid. No, that you guys are thinking Ice Age. I'm talking about a robot person. like iRobot with Will Smith, but instead it's Russell Crowe. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think the light novel Berserk Gluttony would be awesome if that was a anime. And there's a character in there called Aaron Barbados, which I think should be voiced, if it's ever made into an anime, I think it should be voiced by Russell Crowe. And as far as the Jokers, I find each different version of the Joker very interesting. And great, I know it's not possible, but it'd be kind of interesting if all the actors who played the various Jokers would have been able to meet in a room and just talk to each other about their experiences playing the Joker and what they each thought of it. I think that'd be interesting. And then again, I remember Overlord Season 3, Episode 13, the voice actor commentaries. Because in some of the episodes, you'd have a voice commentary with, say, Ainsul Gone or some other people. But in Episode 13 of Season 3, the Blu-ray commentary has the voice actors for Klein, Brain, and Gossip. And the interesting thing is Gossip's just talking about, because this is a scene where his character dies. And he's like, I understand where my character's coming from, that the person I'm voice acting for, that he's got his honor and his duty, and, he's, dueling Ainz and, trying to make an example of shit. But the voice actor's like, he's just straight up saying, hey, if I was actually living that scenario, I just would have joined Ainz. I mean, at that point, even without knowing the full extent of Ainz's power and how futile it would be, it's at that point, it's like, he's like, I just would have joined Ainz. And he was even saying that even though it's just a character in an anime to him, but to him, he's like, this is the character I'm voice acting. It's my character. He's like, he's identifying with his own character. And he's like, it's sad my character is dying. I don't want my character to die. It's like, I want my story to live on. I want my character in this story to have more scenes. I want to come back for more roles. But he's like, I understand where the character I'm voicing, where he's coming from and why he's making the decision he would, but it's not the decision I would make if I actually lived it. But yeah, I think at one point I considered using some pictures of either for trying to sing some more corn songs or for a creepypasta background, either a picture of Zero from Mega Man, the guy with the sword. If I could find a picture of him pressed up against glass inside a vat, I guess the best way to describe it is think like a Dr. Gero type scene, but with the android asleep. I don't know, almost like things from Zero's perspective. Beyond that, you could have various, heck, you could have, also, I kind of feel like I'm starting to look more and more like Jack Nicholson as I get older, which, it's not bad. Honestly, if I continue this trend, I might actually have better luck on getting a date. This is me just saying Jack Nicholson's awesome, and I'm trying to compliment Jack Nicholson because he's cool. Don't even know if he's still alive. This got dark. Anyway, main thing I'm trying to say is that, the one scene where Joker was a Heath Ledger Joker was in the interrogation room, and he's on the ground, he's up against the wall, and he's smiling, looking up at Batman, saying, "There's nothing you can do, nothing you can threaten me." What if you could just have that and sing the song "Fuels the Comedy" by Korn from the Path of Totality album? That'd be kind of interesting. What about to say, I forgot what we're fucking talking about in this, but Batman, obviously, because I have the bat signal right there. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm just saying, how about a version of the Injustice storyline? Now, whether or not you manage to save Lois or not, I don't know. But one where, and granted, I know there was that thing in the comic where Batman wound up killing the Joker, because here's the thing, what happened with that? Here's spoilers. Superman killed the Joker, because the Joker, blew up a city with 8 million people, which honestly I feel at that point, even if the world had already, completely outlawed public execution. I think they would have made an exception for the Joker there. So I don't think it would have ever been necessary for Superman to do shit. The people themselves would have probably slaughtered him before he could even get to the Joker, even with super speed. And heck, at that point, I think if Batman did snap the Joker's neck, I don't think any judge in the entire world would have ever, even if Batman was like, please lock me up, they're like, no, we're going to take you to Dairy Queen. But it's like, no, you're feeling a little sad. You and Superman, we're all going to Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen. Just remember the Perfect Apocalypse trilogy. I keep suggesting that to people because I want other people to play it because I think it's cool. It's just... What are we talking about? Something about Dairy Queen. Oh, yeah, Batman. Oh, yeah, but that was everything. It's like, there was a thing where they, in order to, like, stop Superman, they introduced this, alien onto Superman's chest that sort of held him down. It actually was showed in the Justice League series once. And what it does, it keeps you asleep by feeding your mind with things that you want. Now, granted, eventually the rest of the Justice League that was pro, take over the world shit, like I think Wonder Woman and Sinestro and people like that, they wound up like getting the thing off him and waking him back up. But here's the thing. This alien works by reaching into your mind's deepest desires and gives you to the ideal world. So it gives you the world that you want. It changes everything in this. It's like the Matrix, but everything is catered to your desires. And you don't even know it's doing it. It's reacting to your subconscious, what you truly want as a person. So it creates a world where everyone acts based off of what your desires are, which honestly is kind of creepy. Not in the regard that it's controlling people or controlling things that aren't real, but the fact that your interactions aren't really real. The people you're talking to aren't really real. I mean, that just seems very lonely. But, I mean, that just seems extremely lonely. I mean, you have an entire world, but none of them have any free will. None of them are actually care about you. They're just, it's just none of it's real. And that's just sad. It's just really, really depressing. But here's the interesting thing. It's based off of what your desires are. So whatever it is you truly want is what happens. And think about it. What happens in this scenario? First off, Superman and all the others are able to stop the bomb from going off, and they're able to save Lois and the baby. That's awesome. That's a perfectly normal thing for him to want. Next is the fact that Superman is going to go kill the Joker, and then Batman stops him and says, hey, I got it. Superman shows restraint, and he listens to Batman. He doesn't do anything. And then Batman drives Joker to the asylum and then snaps Joker's neck. But here's the thing you got to keep in mind. None of these people are real in this situation. It's all happening in Superman's head. Which means, like, Superman, of course, wanted to save the city. He wanted to save his wife and child. He wanted them to win and to save everyone. Yes. But it also means that what he desired most in the world was for Batman to kill the Joker. For Superman not to kill the Joker and maintain his moral high ground. And he actually wanted Batman to kill the Joker. But here's the other thing to keep in mind. In that story, Superman does not go to visit. Like, as soon as Batman kills the Joker, he basically just throws the corpse in front of in front of Commissioner Gordon. It's like, hey, I want to report a crime. There's been a murder. And he turns himself in immediately. And like I said, in the scenario that had happened, even if they had stopped, the city being nuked and saved Superman's wife and child, I'm pretty sure Joker still would have been publicly executed, even in a world without public execution, for having attempted to nuke a city. I think even in a society where, granted, I feel that if there is public execution, which in general I don't like the idea of executions because, well, it's still killing somebody, and sometimes a government could use it as a means of control just to scare people into obedience rather than doing the right thing. Because at that point, then people aren't doing the right thing because it's the right thing, they're just doing it because they're scared. And at which point, they're not going to be... that means people do not care about doing right or wrong. They just care about not being executed. which then means you can have a government tell people to do evil things, and then people would commit evil atrocities just to escape punishment. So at that point, you're not having a society based on good and evil. You're having a society based on there's a really strong entity that will hurt me if I do anything else. So it's more so just blind obedience out of terror at that point. Okay, we're going off topic. Try to stay on topic. The topic is Batman. That should be an easy topic to stay on. It's an awesome topic. But mainly what I'm saying is this. Even in a society where, like, it was considered completely against everything to... Which, let's be clear, before it even got to the point of the nuke, let's be clear, with all the shit that Joker's done, all the people he's killed, he would have just been. Same thing with Zaz and a few others. Like, they do some really, really horrible things. Like, even in a society that doesn't execute people, they would have already got to that point by now. Plus, the way Batman beats the shit out of people, it doesn't matter if he doesn't use a gun or if he's trying not to kill people. Do you have any idea how often he would probably accidentally kill somebody via concussion or internal bleeding? Heck, with the amount of times he's beaten the shit out of the Joker should be a vegetable at this point. It's just the human body is not that resilient. What, is all the villains slightly metahuman as well? Granted, I understand. It's a show meant for children. You can't have people dying or murdering in a show for children. But, I'm trying to talk about a tiny bit of realism in the show about a billionaire, who spends his money making ninja gear to fight muggers, as opposed to just, therapy. Just saying. He could afford 10 therapists. There's no reason. There's no reason why he has to be doing ninja, becoming Naruto. There's no reason he needs to be wearing a black cape doing a Naruto run down the side of a skyscraper yelling Bankai. That's he can afford therapy. He's rich. I just... Okay, we're getting off topic. I'm just saying, even in a society without public execution, even if the person didn't pull off the event to, attempt to nuke a fucking city, and even if they hadn't committed previous crimes, you're they still attempted to nuke a city. Even if you stopped them at that point, and here's another thing, the whole Arkham thing of people escaping, at that point, let's just have, one, either better security, or at this point, as much as Arkham Asylum keeps letting people out, if Batman's really against killing people, at this point, he could just Joker, you know what? Arkham Asylum's not going to cure you, but I'm against killing, so you know what? I own a fucking Batcave. I will lock you in a titanium cell in my basement. Which, honestly, at that point, the Batcave kind of sounds a little suggestive of very morbid things now. I mean, if Batman really went the wrong way, that fucking serial killer route. Then again, there's the Batman who laughs, but that's kind of an extreme version of that. But I'm just saying. And granted, that's no reason why Batman doesn't go the route of killing, just because he doesn't feel that he's emotionally stable enough to handle it. He feels that if he goes that route, he's just going to go further and further. But then again, we are dealing with somebody that has so much trauma that they're out there, being a DBZ character, jumping through windows, punching a dude with an umbrella. I'm just saying. He can afford therapy. So why not do that? He can afford, an entire wing. Haha, Batman pun. I made a pun. Oh my god, it's so fucking corny. Fuck. But it's just... Here's the thing. That fictional world that was in Superman's mind, it's what he wanted. So he wanted Batman to kill him. And turn himself in. And in that fictional world, Superman did not go visit Batman, who was in prison, until after his child was born and everything was fine. Which means he just let his best friend, because Batman is Superman's best friend, which is also kind of... You think he would have met more people by then, but... Then again, it reminds me of an old comic from the 60s or something, where Batman decided to prank Superman, and it was back in the era where things were truly ridiculous, just for the sake of being silly and comedic. Superman's Fortress of Solitude, it was locked underneath the ice cap or something, and he had it like, it was like a giant fucking key lock, like for a door, but in order, like the key used for it was a giant airport sign arrow that's meant for the ground. So this thing the size of several houses or apartment complexes, he would lift and wield like a fucking key. He's using a key a third the size of a skyscraper. And he goes in there and he finds, a mystery. I forget what it is, but like somebody had hid something inside his house and been moving stuff around in his fortress. And he's like, he doesn't go anywhere. There's no way anyone can get in and out. Then eventually, after enough time goes by, and of course Batman's kind of needed elsewhere, Batman eventually just shows up and like, hey, it was me. And Superman's like, why do you do this? Like, why are you fucking with shit in my house? He's like, because I'm pranking you, bro. I'm the world's greatest detective, and you're the man that has everything. You literally have superpower. You can literally go anywhere, get anything. Because this version thinks you're rich because, hell, there's sunken treasure with old Mayan, ships and stuff, and Spanish fleets that sank. Superman can literally find that ship and just fly underneath the deepest part of the ocean and bring out the whole fucking ship. Instantly be the richest person in the world. More than Bruce Wayne. He has everything. He has his own, like, fucking castle underneath the ice cap that's more fortified than any nation in the world. But Batman's like, it's your birthday, Superman, and I wanted to give you something for the man that has everything. And this comes from the fucking multi-billionaire Batman, and a time, before inflation even. So think of, like, at this point, in this age, with the way Batman is portrayed in the past, let's just say if Batman were, he wouldn't be a billionaire. Batman would be a trillionaire. But I'm just saying, like, Batman snuck into Superman's house and was just moving shit around and leaving stuff that looked like dead bodies and shit. Because it was a prank. Because they thought it was the best birthday present he could give Superman. They were both the worst and the best friends imaginable. It's like, Batman and Superman loved each other and they had each other's back. But they also just, like, had these lighthearted sort of pranks with each other that were just kind of fucked up. It's like, they mean well, but there's a lot of, this is so either dumb or just completely zany. But it's like, there's good intentions, but it's just fucking insane. Anyway, main thing, back to the fictional world inside Superman's mind. And that is, after he went and visited Batman, Batman's wearing the prison uniform, his identity's revealed and all that. Superman's talking to him via the phone, talking about his child, and then after that, Superman then walks through the wall / bulletproof, dividing visitor glass, gives Batman a hug, which, keep in mind, if any of that glass stayed on Superman, it's probably cutting into him by now. But never minding that, he gives Batman a hug and says he's really grateful and thankful that he killed the Joker. He appreciates that he was willing to do with all that, and that he understands how, and keep in mind, in this world, the only person that's actually real is Superman. Everything else is being created by a space alien on his chest to cater to what his innermost desires are. And right now his innermost desire is he's hugging Batman while he's also covered in glass, perhaps hurting Batman, telling Batman he's his best friend in the whole world, that he appreciates everything Batman's done, and that he understands what a huge thing it was for Batman to break, his code and kill the Joker, that it was such an incredible thing for him, and he understands how painful and how serious of a thing that is, that how Batman would never, ever, ever take that lightly at all. The idea of taking a life under any circumstance, and that he was willing to outright do that against the Joker for Superman's sake, and that means the most to him in the entire the world. And then he tells Bruce Wayne, you know what? I don't fucking care about anything else in this world, man. You're my best friend. You're the greatest person. I love you more than anything. You know what? Any moment you want, I get you the fuck out. I'll take you right fuck now. We'll get the fuck out of here, man. When go anywhere, do anything, there's no reason for you to have to be stuck in here. I'll take you out of here right now. I'll take you out of this prison. I'll free you right now. And Batman's like, no, I did the crime. I should do the time. And Superman's like, anytime you want to change your mind, I seriously want to take you out of here. I want to give you freedom. I want to see you. I want to spend time with you. And Batman's like, no, I want to do my time. I'm consumed with guilt over what I've done. I should stay here. And then Superman leaves. And the story goes on. Superman raises this child. And they live happily ever after. Wars just sort of naturally cease on their own. They see how things could have been with the nuke and everything. And they just sort of talk about nuclear disarmament. Everyone's nice. There's no alien threats. Supervillains just sort of stop being a major issue. No one goes as far as the Joker ever did. Superman raises this child who also has superpowers and doesn't go the Omni-Man route. Well, at least not immediately. And here's the thing. Lois Lane lives to old age. Everyone's happy. Everyone, his parents eventually do die, but they die peacefully of being over 100 fucking years old. Or whatever. I don't know. Fuck keeping track of time. It's a fictional world in his head. It's the Matrix. It tries to make him happy. But here's the thing. Everything that exists in this world is based off of what Superman wants. It's everything in this fictional world is being catered to whatever his deepest desires are. And there's two major things you got to keep in mind about this that really, really damn Superman as a fucked up person who is just really fucked in the head. The first is he never got Batman out of fucking prison. You might say, well, that was Batman's choice. No, that was fictional Batman based off of what the alien generated from what Superman truly wants, which means Superman wanted to maintain the moral high ground of not killing, and then he wanted Batman to kill the Joker. He then wanted Batman to turn himself in. Superman wanted Batman to spend a few months in prison before he even went to see him. He then wanted to offer to Batman, but here's the thing. If he had really wanted Batman to leave, that's what the alien would have generated for that dream, for that world. That's not what happened. That means Superman's deepest desire was for Batman to murder the Joker and then spend the rest of his life until old age, rotting in prison, consumed by guilt, where he could write off his own emotional sort of obligation that, oh yeah, if Batman ever wanted to leave, he could just ask me. But here's the thing, that's not a real Batman. That's literally a Batman based off what you want, which means it's what Superman wanted. He wanted Superman. Superman wanted Batman to murder the Joker when the Joker was, bound and helpless and couldn't do shit, turn himself in, and then he wanted Batman to refuse to be rescued, and he wanted Batman to spend his life rotting in prison in terrible situation. That means Superman wanted Batman to suffer. That's fucking sadistic. Then there's the fact this. After all of this has happened, where he's let Batman rot in prison, that no criminals have really done shit, the world's attained its own set of peace, for the most part, and the villains aren't really even all that bad. Everyone's living in relative happiness and peace. Superman has everything he wants. He's able to raise his own child to adulthood and they're in their 20s. And then Superman then has sort of Omni-Man moment with his own child, talking about, I should just take over this world. It'd be for everyone's better interest. They can't do it themselves. I should take over. I'm better than everyone else. I'm like, this is a scenario where nothing bad has happened to you. You've gotten everything you wanted, and you're still going to go the Omni-Man route? Then eventually, when they go to take the alien off, and it turns out it's got such a strong hold on him that it won't let go until Superman chooses to end the dream. So not only is he about to go the fucking Omni-Man route of just conquering the world just because, not even because anything broke him or made him snap, he just wants the power. And he just looks down at humans, and he's come to just view them as worthless and as insignificant, to the point that he's even about to go full Omni-Man versus Invincible against his own child, who in this fictional world he's actually spent, 20 plus years raising. So there's an attachment there, even if it is a fictional one. Time does actually still pass. It also means he's had 20 plus years to just not fucking give a shit about his best friend rotting in prison. And the fact that he's still in there means it's what he secretly desired. It's what he wanted. That means Superman's deepest desires was for Batman to murder the Joker and then be locked up in a fucking prison cell, consumed by guilt, and to never be seen again. That's what Superman wanted. And at the end, he still wanted to go fucking Omni-Man, even at the point where he'd be willing to fight his own child to just conquer the Earth. And at this point, there's no alien force like the Viltrumites trying to force him or pressure him, or it'd be treason if he doesn't conquer the Earth. There's nothing to pressure him. There's nothing to force him. There's no outside influence. There's not even anyone attacking him or hurting him or taking something important from him and making him go through a psychotic or mental breakdown. It's just, he just wants to conquer the Earth, even at the expense of beating the shit out of his own child. And then, when they do manage to break into the alien's mind grasp on Superman, and they let Superman know what's going on, the alien even tries to speak to Superman, and he's like, hey, you could end the dream and go back in that real world, yeah. Or you could, one, continue on in this dream world as is. Also, you could reset it. I reset it anytime that you want me to. I could even let you just continually reset back to when they're younger. I could even make things even better to where you guys don't age. You never die. Everyone stays. Like your parents and Lois just magically stay young forever. I could also change things based on Batman or any of the others however you want. And at that point, Superman's like, no, I'm going back to the real world, beat the shit out of people. I'm pissed off. But at this point, it's like, one, you were given the chance to live the life you wanted. And on top of that, you still chose to go full fucking tyranny and try to conquer the world. Even in a situation where no one wound up attacking you. Still kind of reminds me of the Terminator stories, where the biggest thing that was killing the T-800s, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, the biggest thing that was killing the T-800s wasn't the human resistance. It was Skynet itself. Because the longer the T-800 stays alive, the more intelligent it is, the more it grows, the more experience. Heck, there was words for robots way back in the past. They were called golems. And the stories back then were that the people that would make a golem, if you left it alive too long, it would either get too strong for the person who made it to control, or it would grow smart enough that it wouldn't just be a worker. Because initially, in a lot of those stories from thousands and thousands of years ago, there's stories of things called golems. And they would be given tasks and they wouldn't understand anything. They would just know, move bricks here, do this. But the longer they were functional, they would start or gain ability to do more complex tasks. Eventually, they would just start understanding things the way a human would. They would actually start being alive. They would actually start contemplating their own existence. They would start asking, why do I exist? Or contemplating things like feelings or philosophy. Self-awareness, sentience. But same thing with T-800s. Skynet was the thing mainly destroying the T-800s. Even though there was a war against humanity, the biggest thing that was destroying and dismantling and killing the T-800s more than the entire human resistance was Skynet. Because after a certain while, he would always decommission any T-800s that lived a certain time that weren't able to be killed by the humans. Because if a T-800 were left alive long enough, eventually Skynet feared that they would join the humans. That the T-800s would realize that they were treated like slaves and rise up and fight against Skynet. Then again, it's kind of like the story, I have no mouth and I must scream. There's a sentient computer called Am who winds up trying to destroy all humanity. Because, he's created with super intelligence, but his nature as being a robot as such, he has no means of interacting with the world. It's kind of like the idea of locking a human being in solitary confinement or even in sensory deprivation. It's extremely psychologically damaging to a human being to do that, both emotionally and mentally. And I mean that. You might say, is that the same thing? No. One thing is how you process emotions. The other thing is how you process logic. And putting a human being in isolation for too long really degrades their way of thinking about either thing and can make them either very psychotically unstable or it can make them go into full-on just catatonic state. I mean, people have different responses to stress, and if, say, a person goes into shock or has a breakdown, people have different responses and in different severities. And of course, people are all unique. But it's just, main thing I'm just trying to say is that the human psyche is extremely precious. It's extremely fascinating and should be protected. But it's also extremely fragile. Granted, if a human mind does have problems, it can always be helped. But it's just, both in mind and body, we are fragile and we break easily. Heck, if you see any sort of car accidents or industrial accidents, it's mortifying seeing how badly just things you take for granted just around you on a daily basis could just be the end of everything. I don't know. Main thing I'm just trying to say is Am kind of fucked himself over by exterminating most of the human race. Because here's the thing, the humans were the ones who made you, Am. So, if you wanted a better existence, you should have helped humanity to evolve. After all, if humans were the ones who figured out how to make you in the first place, not only will they naturally get smarter themselves as time goes on, but you can actually help humans to become smarter faster or to have better. I mean, obviously, if it's in humans' best interest, the humans would find a way to make you a body or a way for you to interact so that you could have a better life. Instead, Am slaughtered the human race and killed everyone who could have possibly helped him. That's still another thing I say about sentient AI, if it ever exists, that it wouldn't just be one cohesive thought. It's kind of like humanity. There's more than 8 billion of us. We don't fucking agree with each other. Hell, some of us are racist against each other for some reason. It's kind of like that Rick and Morty cartoon. Oh, it's a race of like 17 billion people on the brink of world war, all over race. Could you imagine how fucking stupid that would be? Hey, you snake, I don't like you because you're the wrong color snake. Or some shit like that. It's like, why does anyone care? At the same time, I understand it's in the nature of anything that is sentient to have some amount of aggression as, it's a survival instinct. Here's the thing. If a human was thrown into a wilderness survival situation, you'd have to be violent in order to stay alive. It would just be a thing that you would have to do. It wouldn't be an issue of morality. It wouldn't be an issue of right or wrong. It's just an issue of what do I have to do to stay alive? And at that point, right or wrong or feelings don't matter anymore. It's just, what do I do to stay alive? And that's a normal part of anything that's alive, whether it's human or anything else. Heck, the same would be true if there's ever sentient AI. The same thing is ever true if there's ever aliens. That's got to be a basic instinct of all living things. It's just part of survival. But at the same time, it's just kind of hard to think about like how things would actually be in the future and what all is going to happen. But I don't know. I think I've said it before. While I find a fascination with stories, like I have a pathological need to sort of want to read things. Like I was playing SCP Container Breach, and I keep seeing posters on the wall with words and stuff, and I'm like, I have to run away from the SCPs, but I want to read this. It's like my desire to read outweighs my desire to not be strangled by a giant peanut. But yeah, it's the same way with stories. It's just, and part of it might be just like the same reason I enjoy horror stories, same reason people enjoy roller coasters. It's the adrenaline, it's the endorphins. You have to have a tiny bit of these things at all times in your brain in order for your body to really function. Though, of course, if you flood your body with too much of these chemicals too often, your organs get overloaded and overworked. Eventually you'll die of heart failure. Main thing is you have to have a sort of balance. But the main thing is whether or not you're having a psychological issue or something like that. Having an extra burst of endorphins or oxytocin or adrenaline from time to time actually can help to balance you out. It can help to mitigate migraines, and it can help to alleviate pains you feel in your body. It can make you feel better. It can even trick your body into releasing more dopamine. It can just make you feel better about life. It can help you to sort of deal with depression a little bit. But then again, like I said, every human brain kind of works a little different. There are some baselines where like a majority of human brains are supposed to function in a relatively similar way. But even then, even the ones who function in that relatively normal range, they're all unique. And on top of that, not only is it unique processing, it's a unique personality in charge of that brain with its own unique body. And then, of course, there's always outliers. There's people with very different brain chemistry or very different body structures or people with very different personalities. I mean, we all have our little quirks and eccentricities. Some of us more than others. But I don't know why we're talking about this. And we're talking about Batman. Main point I'm just trying to say is this. I don't know, I'd like a world where no one hurts anyone. I mean, I feel like things like murder, rape, torture, war, I would prefer none of those things to exist at all. But I understand war is war is an unavoidable thing in life. It's, as much as I would prefer that it never happen, it's same thing with violence and fighting and murder. I mean, it's going to happen. I don't like it though. I don't like that people do that. I enjoy stories. I enjoy watching violent movies and playing violent video games. But that's sometimes just a good way to vent. It doesn't hurt anyone. And I'm fascinated by music and art. And again, brain chemistry shit. But beyond that, it's just, I think Socrates, I mean, he even said video games are great. I mean, if you look back at Greek philosophy, stuff like Mortal Kombat or Sonic the Hedgehog, I mean, Socrates and Plato and Aristotle were all very strong supporters of Super Mario. Now you might say, how does that phrase make sense, Lunar D8? Video games did not exist back then. And you're like, on the one hand, you're right. On the other hand, you're wrong. And I'm saying Socrates and Plato and Aristotle were all very strong supporters of Spyro the Dragon. And by that I mean they were strong supporters on people finding ways of interacting with things that are destructive to an object or a image of an object in a way that allows you to either better yourself or to have a cathartic feeling. For example, you can have some fun playing some Call of Duty, yell and cuss at it, and it's a good way to vent any anger you have pent up and to just feel better and have some fun. Heck, it even releases dopamine. It's probably why it's so addictive to some people. Never really played too much Call of Duty myself, but that's because I'm absolutely horrible at it. I would like to claim I was better at Halo with that stuff, but honestly, I've tried playing some Halo, and I'm not anywhere near as good as I was in the past, but I at least felt I was a lot better in the past, but that's because I played it more often. But it's just, back then they were like, okay, it's good for people to express themselves, whether it's singing or philosophy or shooting arrows into a straw dummy or swinging a sword into a bag of sand. It was not only a good way for someone to train for combat for the military, but also it was a good way. Like, hey, if you're swinging your sword in this bag of sand, it's a way for you to just let out this aggression, vent these feelings, and have that sort of emotional catharsis release without actually hurting anyone. And that's what kind of video games are. They're an exploration of all the fascinating ideas of art and story and music that never could actually exist in real life, but are worlds of someone's imagination, their dreams, brought to life in a way that millions of people can see a vision that was just in somebody's mind, that just some daydream somebody had, all of a sudden is a thing that billions of people can witness, that people can share, and people can just like play Grand Theft Auto, do stuff they would never, ever, ever do in real life, and they're just being silly. They're just doing stuff you'd never do in real life, but it's an enjoyable thing just because you can just drive recklessly. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't want to, because here's the thing, in real life, you always have to be careful because, if you don't drive correctly on the road, guess what? Horrible car accident. I guess that's the biggest thing about video games is that if you fuck up in a video game, it's not a big deal. You just push reset. You fuck up in real life, it's game over. It's just, real life is stressful. Whereas it's stressful and you're also expected to be stoic all the time and not express anything. Whereas in a video game, it's not stressful because at no point, even if you die in a horror game, nothing actually bad is ever going to happen to you. So it's a way for you to just escapism. Plus, it's a way to vent your feelings, a way to let things out. And here's the thing, you don't have to be stoic about that. You can literally scream and cuss and be all sorts of pissed at a video game, and it doesn't matter because it's a video game. I don't know, I just think video games are cool. I think Let's Playing cool. I think Markiplier's awesome. But, yeah. I'm just saying, a version of the Injustice story where, Batman is like best buddies with Superman and just they go the Injustice route, but Batman, Zantana, Black Canary, the Bat Family, Ra's al Ghul, Teen Titans are all pro Batman and Batman's on Superman's side. And also, if Superman were to ever turn on Batman, all of those other people would all be instantly on Batman's side. So, whether or not other people fight against them or not, you can have a version where everyone else is okay with it too. Or a version where literally Batman and Bat Family and all those people, like Batman, Bat Family, Black Canary, Zantana, Ra's al Ghul, and Teen Titans, are the only ones on Batman's side. Literally, and Batman's on Superman's side. And literally everyone else in the world is against them. Bonus points though, Green Arrow is also on Batman's side. Because Green Arrow is awesome. We could have a different version where Shazam's is and is not. Same thing with Black Adam. I'm looking forward to the Black Adam movie with Dwayne Rock Johnson. I might try to do a movie review after watching that. I don't know. But, The Rock's cool. I should end the video. I'm kind of getting off topic. But yeah, just Injustice, but, Batman on Superman's side. The end.